Welcome back to r/LegalAdvice, where we read surprisingly interesting stories that usually don't end in a cliffhanger. If you are new to my channel, please feel free to subscribe to join our awesome community, and without any further ado, let's dive right in. My wife was assaulted by my stepmother and captured it on video. Stepmother stole the phone, deleted the video and lied that she hit first, but I was able to recover the video and show the police before they left. My wife and stepmother have never been close, but they have never been in a physical altercation until last night. My wife was sitting on the curb with a friend when my stepmother pulled up and started yelling about how having visitors is not allowed. We are all on the lease and she has no say about who we have over. At this point, my wife pulled out her phone and began to record video of the situation because she wanted proof of how she was acting. There's a history of my stepmother being rude, but she denies it after the fact. At that point, my stepmother got out of the car, jumped on my wife and punched her/scratched her up and grabbed the phone. My wife punched her in the face, trying to get her off, and I believe she broke her nose in the process. My wife came back in, told me what happened, then went back to try and get her phone out of the car. My stepmother pulled her hair and kept her out of the car, and it was broken up by my dad, who had came out as well. The car was driven into the garage and my stepmother deleted the video of her jumping on my wife before the police arrived. My wife called them immediately with my phone afterwards. When we were walking back inside, my dad was upset because my stepmother told him that my wife slapped her first, and that is what started it. When the police arrived, they talked to everyone and got statements from my wife, stepmother and my wife's friend who saw the whole thing. The police retrieved my wife's phone and gave it back to us. I looked for the video my wife said she recorded, but it was not there. I downloaded some recovery software and was able to retrieve it while the police were there, and they were able to see it and put it on the report. In the video, my wife is clearly sitting on the curb and my stepmother is shown walking over and jumping on my wife. There are some noises, then the video stops. The officer seemed upset and asked me to email him a copy, which I did right then. He seemed very surprised and said my stepmother got what she deserved, and was very sympathetic to my wife, telling her no matter what disagreements you have with somebody, physical violence is never called for and is never okay. I don't know what my stepmother said in her statement, but I know she told my father that my wife made the first hit, which is clearly not the case. I can only assume that she thought the video evidence had been destroyed and stuck to her story about being struck first. If that is the case, she's guilty of lying to the police, harassment, destroying evidence, theft of property and assault. My wife pressed charges and my stepmother did as well. They set a court date for the end of next month. I want to know what the possible outcomes could be for both my stepmother and my wife as well. My wife is not looking for money out of this, she just feels that my stepmother should not get away with this and have to pay for it somehow, especially if she did lie. Can my wife get in trouble for breaking her nose even if it was in self-defense? What would be the best way to proceed and to prepare for the court date? Should we get a lawyer? I feel a bit lost as in how to proceed with this. I know it's a wall of text, I just wanted to make sure I did not leave anything out. Thanks everybody. And guys, unfortunately I cannot read any comments in this thread for now because there are some technical difficulties, but I'm curious, do you think his wife can get in trouble for breaking the nose of the stepmother? And furthermore, did you ever have any trouble with awful stepmothers? Let us know in the comments. And the next one is an update to the story where the wife got assaulted. Good news, today my wife had a meeting with a representative of the DA. They reviewed the case and offered to drop all of my wife's charges, harassment and disorderly conduct, if she pleads guilty and stays out of trouble for 6 months. She has 30 days to accept the deal, which is when her next meeting will be. They will not be offering my stepmother the same deal. With the recovered video evidence, they know that she was the one at fault and lied about it. Afterwards, we purchased a discovery of all reports and statements made relative to the case, and my mother-in-law did in fact lie on her police report by claiming that my wife hit her first after she supposedly tried talking to my wife. The officer's own report states that the video was shown to him while he was present and submitted by him into evidence officially, and shows that my stepmother swiftly approached my wife and went at her. He also stated that my stepmother could not explain why she had my wife's phone and makes no mention of the video naturally, but I cannot imagine it will be very good for her. While my wife feels much better knowing that she won't have to face any charges herself, she feels unsure about pleading guilty to anything. Is that a common plea to offer in a situation such as this? I think it would be easiest to just accept and be done with the whole situation, but I know how she must feel having to plead guilty to something that was entirely not her fault. She has a month to mull it over. Would my stepmother's lying on the police report about the fight be considered obstruction of justice? She must have assumed the video would not be recovered and it would be their words against each other. Would the deletion of the video count as tampering with physical evidence also? If my wife ends up taking the plea and washing herself of the situation, how and would they go after my stepmother for her charges? I'm guessing it will be a separate proceeding, not involving my wife, since she will be cleared. If I think of anything else, I will edit it in, but I don't think I left anything out. Thanks again for reading and for your advice. And guys, let me know in the comments, would you personally plead guilty in this situation? To me, it seems like a weird thing to do, especially if you are not guilty, but maybe I misunderstood something. By the way, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. Thank you so much. By the way, once again, sorry for not being able to read the comments in the thread. This is just due to technical issues that will be gone tomorrow. Update number 2 to the assaulted wife's story. This will be short and sweet. This letter came in the mail the other day and the charges against my wife have been officially dropped. To say it was a big sigh of relief is an understatement. It feels great not to have to think about this anymore. Thanks for all the advice you have given, it has been really great. If I ever need to post here again, I hope it is under lighter circumstances. And the next one is titled, The state wants me to pay my husband child support, we are happily married and live together. We had to sign our son up for Medicaid after an insurance change. Florida normally does not do an automatic child support order when a child gets on Medicaid, but apparently someone there thought they should. My husband and I are happily married and live together. I am a stay-at-home mom. I called Medicaid and tried to explain. They just kept saying that I have to get a job and pay him. What can we do? And guys, what would you suggest OP to do in this situation? Let us know in the comments. And here an update to the Florida story. It is all cleared up. It turns out they got me confused with his ex-wife. She kept his last name. She applied for Medicaid every couple of months. She's weird and lists herself as divorced but puts my husband's name and social in the spouse part. And guys, this is actually interesting because this is yet another medical identity theft story. Those seem to be very common. Did anyone ever try to steal your identity in regards to any medical services? Let us know in the comments. And the next one is titled, I think a dealership stole parts of my vehicle before delivery. I bought an SUV from a used car lot a couple days ago. When I took it for a test drive, the vehicle had a mental skid plate, all-season floor mats, tires in like new condition, and a painted hard plastic cover for the spare tire along with a spare tire carrier. We agreed on a price and I bought the vehicle assuming that it would be the same thing that I test drove. I gave them with a cashier's check and then signed the purchase agreement. They told me that it would be a couple days to detail it and I did not think anything of it. When I picked it up, I noticed that the spare tire carrier was gone, not just the hard plastic cover, but the metal supports too. The dealer claimed that it was an option they were showcasing, but they never mentioned that to me when I test drove it. The hard plastic cover was painted the same color as the truck, so I'm positive they are bullcrapping me about that. I tried to argue that I agreed to buy the vehicle as it had been on the test drive, but they insisted that the vehicle had optional extras that were not included. I am kicking myself for just letting it go then, but I really did not know what I could have done. I already sold my other vehicle before I picked up the truck and would have had no transportation if I walked away. Yeah, it was stupid, but I needed a vehicle. I have noticed since that the vehicle is missing a few different things that it had when I test drove it. The metal skid plate, the all-season floor mats, engine cover, and I'm pretty sure they changed the tires to a more worn set. Plus the vehicle needed an oil change even though they said that they perform one on every vehicle they sell. The oil was really black when I checked the level. Is there any way I can make them give me back the parts that they took off the truck? The BOS is pretty vague, but it seems to say that I was buying the vehicle like it was when the contract was signed. It was not an as-is special, but they did say that I was agreeing to buy it in the condition it was when I signed the contract. They are telling me that it only applies to the base vehicle and not what they are calling optional extras. So basically, the way they explained it, I was buying the soundness of the vehicle, not the optional extras. They offered to sell me the optional extras, but for what they are asking, it is going to be well over $1,000 to get that stuff from them. None of that is making sense to me because I cannot see anywhere in the purchase agreement that optional extras existed or that I had the option to buy them like I did for undercoating. The only proof I have that stuff is missing is a picture of the SUV I took when I arrived at the dealership for a test drive. It is a side profile and you can sort of see the hard plastic spare tire cover and the metal mount in the picture. I don't think you can see the metal skid plate unless you really enhance the photo. I took the photo with my iPhone and it has a geotag with the date and time if that matters. So, am I screwed, guys? Is there anything I can do to get my stuff back or did I never own it? Did they actually steal stuff off my truck or did I just screw myself over? I just thought that if I bought a vehicle outright, I would be getting it like it had been when I signed and paid for it. They are telling me that it does not work like that though. I cannot help but feel they stole the parts and are trying to force me to fork over more money to them to get them back though. This all happened in Ontario, Canada, and I have not had the SUV a full week yet. I don't know about you guys, but to me this seems like an outright scam, and I'm curious about what you think the OP could or should do. Also, furthermore, have you ever been scammed by a car dealership? Let us know in the comments. And now the update to the car story. No happy ending, but I think everyone who helped me might be interested in how things went. Since Ontario is a one-party consent province, thanks for letting me know about that, I gave the used dealership a call this morning and had them verbally confirm the price of the optional parts for me while I recorded it. I have them on tape saying that these parts are indeed optional and that if I want them back on the vehicle, I need to pay X amount. I also paid the original manufacturer's local dealership a visit and spoke to the sales manager. I asked him if the manufacturer could tell me what my truck was sold with, and after showing him the proof of ownership and explaining my situation, he said he could get that information for me. He was able to confirm that the vehicle was sold with most of the missing parts, spare tire, painted spare tire cover, spare tire mount, metal skid plate and engine cover, and was nice enough to get a print out of the build sheet confirming that. A user in the comments was right, manufacturers are happy, at least in this case, to help people when they think sketchy things involving their vehicles are happening. So I made copies of everything and went on back down to the dealership that took the parts off my truck. I stuck a little tape recorder in my coat just in case. They again insisted that the parts were optional until I showed them the build sheet and gave the sales manager at the other dealership a quick call on speakerphone. He told them what they were doing was bait and switch at best, a user in the comments called it, and that they cannot take factory installed equipment off a vehicle that had been paid in full and charge extra for it. They went on about how it was optional at their dealership, but he said it does not work like that. After the call, they told me that it did not matter what the sales manager said, the parts were optional and that if I wanted to get them, they were going to cost even more because I was causing problems. All of which I got on tape, thank God. So I have a recording from this morning saying the parts would cost X and one just then of them saying why, because you are causing problems. I told them it's fine and let them know about the recordings and pictures I took. I mentioned how interested the media would be about this, thanks user in the comments, and that I will be sure to pass these recordings on to OMVIC before I take them to court. The guy had a "I still think I'm right" attitude, which made everything so much more satisfying. So I followed through, contacted a lawyer who I have a meeting with after New Year's and made a complaint with OMVIC. I also went back to the manufacturer's dealer to let the sales manager know how things went and bring him a thank you coffee. We got to talking and I asked them if they could inspect the vehicle to see if anything else was missing. The build sheet said it had. When they looked at it, they found welds on the truck frame among other evidence of an accident. Apparently, it was involved in a nasty hit, but the dealership absolutely did not disclose that fact to me. I had nothing either written or verbal informing me that the vehicle had been in an accident. The Carfax report they showed me, and I have a copy of, indicates the vehicle was clean. Apparently, people fake them fairly often though, this I have learned. So thank you for your advice, r/LegalAdvice, you've been a great help to me. I really do appreciate it, especially since you guys volunteered your time to help me out. Looks like now I'm going to have to sue them for the price of the vehicle and for the rental I've had to get, because I don't want to drive a truck where the frame damage was hidden from me. To anyone looking to buy a vehicle, trust nothing. Even if you love the vehicle, be prepared to walk away. Being too trusting will put you in the same position I am in. Don't be taken advantage of, it sucks. Always get the vehicle inspected by a third-party shop you trust, they will see things you don't. By the way guys, have you ever bought any second-hand motorcycles or cars? As you probably know by now, I'm not the biggest car guy, but I really love motorcycles and I'm a big fan of buying used motorcycles. And especially in Thailand, so far I've been pretty lucky and the second-hand motorcycles were in really good shape. Let me know your experiences, if you have any, in the comments. And the next one is titled, "Can I be fired for not donating blood?" My office is having a blood drive. My boss is threatening to fire anyone that is not/cannot donate. I cannot donate blood for medical reasons that I don't want to discuss with my boss and co-workers. Can I be fired for this? And guys, honestly, I'm 100% certain that even in the US this is definitely not legal, and it is very discriminatory, at least it would be in Europe, because as far as I am aware, in Europe, or at least in Germany, you are not allowed to donate blood if you are gay, for example. So once again, that would be a clear case of discrimination. And now the update to the blood story. Yep, I got fired. One of my co-workers overheard or saw something when I was speaking to the woman that was drawing blood. My boss called me into his office, yelled at me, then fired me. The official reason he gave was that I broke dress code by wearing bright nail polish. The office does not even have a dress code, some of the women show up in pajamas. He said some extremely rude things to me about my origin as he was yelling. And to be frank guys, if this story is really true, that boss deserves to be sued in court. Let me know what you think about this story in the comments. And the last one is titled, "Crazy Landlady Trying to Charge Me Fines and Outrageous Interest." My girlfriend and I signed an 18-month lease on a 2-bedroom house in Wisconsin that began on October 2014, and our monthly rent payment is $700, due by the 1st of the month. On November 17th, I received a voicemail from our landlady saying that all vehicles must be parked in the garage, and since we had been leaving one car in the driveway overnight, she was fining us $300. There are 2 of us and 2 cars, and this house only has a 1-car attached garage. There's nothing in our lease about parking or any type of fine, and in our city you cannot park on the street overnight from November 1st through April 1st. I called her back and left a message to the effect of, "Sorry, we cannot park on the street overnight, we have 2 cars and there's nothing in our lease about parking." I paid the rent for December and on the 16th received another message from her while I was at work. Her voicemail said that she had given us 4 weeks to correct the problem of parking a car in the driveway. She was fining us another $300. I followed up that week with several calls and left her messages that restated what I told her in November and telling her that our lease did not mention parking restrictions nor fines. At this point I started to get uncomfortable with where this was going, so I sent my January rent via certified mail. It cleared and I heard nothing from her during the month of January. I sent out the February rent via certified mail as well, and it cleared my bank on the 2nd of February. By the way, I always feel like a complete idiot for pronouncing February. Please let me know if that is completely wrong or right in the comments. Anyway, last night I received a letter from her that is absolutely insane. She claims that because of the fines you failed to pay and the late fees, I owe her $7,640. She has been fining me $300 per month from October through January, which is $1,200, and since I have not paid them, has been charging me late fees of $70 per day since November 1st, which is then $6,440. My lease says that monthly rent is $700 if received by the first day of the month. If received after that day, a $70 late fee shall be due. In 15 years of renting, I've never been late, but I've always assumed that a late fee is a one-time charge per month. In any case, this lease does not specify that the late fee is applied every day that the rent is late. She has indicated in her letter that she has been applying my rent payments to the fines and late fees, so I've not actually paid my rent since October. Again, my lease has nothing in it about parking restrictions and I am renting an entire house. The lease looks like it is one of those forms you can purchase at an office supply store. The city I live in has no restrictions about parking vehicles in driveways, and this house is not part of an HOA. And even if it were, I'm not a party to any HOA agreement that may exist. Her letter says if I continue to park in the driveway, parking fines will be assessed, and that if I do not pay them late fees, will continue to accumulate, and that she will report it on my credit, change the locks and file for eviction. I'm pretty sure that if she attempts to evict me, she will be laughed out of court. I cannot imagine anyone reasonable thinking I owe this woman $7,640, but I'm worried about how to proceed from here. Do I reply with a letter? What should I say? I don't want to somehow bind myself to owing this money. I'm concerned that her letter states she will change the locks and file for eviction. That seems to me like she will lock me out before going to court. From what I've read, that sounds like constructive eviction and is illegal. What do I do if I come home from work and the locks are changed? My driver's license has this address on it. Should I carry around a copy of my lease? Can I call the police if I'm locked out? Is there any way I can stop this woman from attempting to collect this from me? How do I protect myself? Sorry this has been so long, this is the most batshit insane thing I've ever been involved in, and I want to make sure I proceed correctly since I am in this lease until April 2016. I gotta say, that woman sounds like one crafty scammer. Personally, I would have no idea how to protect myself from someone like this, but let's see how the story continues. And now the update to the crazy landlady. After my last post, I contacted an attorney and explained my situation to him. He reviewed my lease and confirmed what I thought, and what most posters thought. There are no terms in my lease that restrict parking, and there's nothing in the lease allowing for fines. He also said that even if there were additional charges, any payment I made had to be applied first to rent, and that she could not evict me for non-payment of money that is not rent. He advised me to continue to send rent via certified mail and to document any communication I had with her. After our meeting, he sent a letter to my landlady outlining my position, stating that I do not owe her $7,640, that any attempt to evict me had no grounds, that we would be open to terminating the lease early, and to direct any further communication about the matter to him. I assume she received the letter last Thursday because that evening I got a phone call from her that I let go to voicemail. Her message was in line with the previous ones. I now owe her over $8,000. I'm assuming her fines are accruing. She will evict me if I don't pay. She cannot believe I'm disrespecting her by having a lawyer send her a letter, and it is her house and she will damn well make any rules she pleases. I guess I was hoping for too much, that a strongly worded letter from an attorney would solve the problem. Friday morning I called my attorney to let him know what she did, and he said my landlady left a similar message on his office number the previous night as well. I told him that I was concerned, as all of you were, that she would try to change the locks on me since her message referred to it as her house and she can do whatever she pleases. He said that he was going to send her another letter telling her that she cannot change the locks or remove any of my things without a court order, and if she does, she will contact the police. He gave me his cell number and told me if she tries anything to call the police and then call him immediately. It is now Monday and I have not heard anything, but I'm not sure if she would have received the second letter yet. I don't think the second one is going to do much since the first one didn't. At this point, I expect her to try to evict me. I am already $150 into trying to fix this, and I can only imagine how expensive it will get if I have to go to court. It is still cheaper than $8,000, but it sucks. I don't really have any questions, but several people asked in the original thread to keep this updated. Thank you to everyone who offered advice. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's content, and if you did, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to join our amazing community. Furthermore, don't forget to go to r/ripe stories on Reddit to post your own stories if you want me to read them out in a video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I see you again tomorrow.